tourism barely scratched the surface of its potential. Even with the great success that Jamaica's tourism was experiencing before the COVID-19 pandemic, the Jamaica Tourism Minister Hon. Edmund Bartlett believes they have merely scratched the surface of this industry's vast potential. There lies an opportunity in this COVID-19 coronavirus crisis. Despite the devastating impact of the pandemic on global tourism economies, as plans are put together and set in place to rebuild, now is the perfect time to reimagine the industry. This is an opportunity to create a tourism product that is safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. Minister Bartlett spoke at the meeting of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association and CARIA, held at the AC Hotel by Marriott in New Kingston, Jamaica, today, July 29, 2021. Read or listen to what he had to say. Introduction. Tourism is one of the world's largest and fastest-growing industries, driving socio-economic development, growth in investments, job creation, and infrastructural development. The pre-pandemic numbers tell the story. In 2019, a thriving global travel and tourism industry accounted for 10.4% of global GDP and supported the livelihoods of 334 million people, 10.6% of all jobs. Meanwhile, international visitor spending amounted to $1.7 trillion. Regionally, Caribbean destinations received an estimated 32.0 million international tourist arrivals, which contributed nearly $59 billion to the nation's GDP, $35.7 billion in visitors spending, and supported 2.8 million jobs, 15.2% of total employment. While locally, 2019 was a record-breaking year for tourism arrivals and earnings. We welcomed 4.2 million visitors, the sector earned $3.7 billion, contributed 9.8% to the nation's GDP, accounted for 17.0% of foreign direct FDI, and generated some 170,000 direct jobs, while indirectly affecting another 100,000. Pre-crisis, tourism also drove 15% of construction, 10% of banking and finance, 20% of manufacturing and 21% of utilities as well as agriculture and fisheries. Overall, the tourism sector grew by 36% over the past 30 years against total economic growth of 10%. When you add that Jamaica is situated in the Caribbean, the world's most tourism-reliant region, then you can understand the importance of tourism to Jamaica's wider post-pandemic economic recovery. Investment in tourism offers one of the best opportunities for Jamaica to recover and strengthen its economy. Therefore, I am pleased to have been invited to speak to representatives of the Caribbean Alternative Investment Association and CARIA today so we can explore tourism investment opportunities that will spur the growth of an industry that contributes immeasurably to the social and economic well-being of our people. COVID's impact. Since March 2020, Jamaica, like the rest of the world, has been navigating an ever-fluid new normal in response to the unprecedented economic and social disruptions caused by the global pandemic. The UNWTO has described the current pandemic as the worst crisis that international tourism has faced since records began in 1950. A recent IMF report found that in the first half of 2020, international tourist arrivals fell globally by more than 65%, compared with 8% during the global financial crisis and 17% amid the SARS epidemic of 2003. The economic impact includes the loss of between 120 million jobs and BTWEE and $910 million to $1.1 trillion in export revenues. The economic impact of the pandemic on international travel and tourism was disproportionately felt among tourism-dependent countries. Caribbean tourism-dependent nations lost an estimated 12% of their GDP in 2020, when compared to 4.4% global economic contraction over the same period. IMF's World Economic Outlook, October 2020. The WTTC estimated that 6 million jobs in the travel and tourism industry and more than $110 billion in contribution to GDP were lost in Latin America and the Caribbean alone in 2020. From a national perspective, the Jamaican economy has been hemorrhaging from the sharp decline in tourist arrivals experienced over the past 16 months. For the last fiscal year, The Jamaican government lost direct revenue from the tourism sector of $46.3 billion through airport charges and taxes, guest accommodation room tax, GART, general consumption tax, tourism enhancement fund, TEF, collections, cruise taxes, and other government taxes. With the reopening of the borders on June 15, 2020, the total number of stopover arrivals up to March 2021 was approximately 464,348, as there were no cruise visitors during this period. With the anticipated number of arrivals of 2.9 million stopover visitors for the April 2020 to March 2021 period, the estimated retained visitor expenditure was $199.4 billion. However, with almost 500,000 visitors for the same period, the expenditure was only $44.7 billion and as such, the loss in visitor expenditure was $154.7 billion. Arrivals at the end of 2020 were 1.3 million. Of this, 880,404 were from stopover arrivals and 449,271 from cruise. This represents a 68.6% decrease from the 4.3 million visitors to the island over the same period in 2019. Jamaica also recorded $1.3 billion in earnings, which was a 62.6% decline in comparison to 2019. For the March 2020 to March 2021 period, the estimated retained visitor expenditure was $217.9 billion. As there were only 600,000 visitors for the same period, the expenditure was only $52.2 billion, and as such the loss in visitor expenditure was $154.7 billion. In addition, in the peak of the pandemic, most hotels in Jamaica were operating at an occupancy level of between 15 to 30%, while the tourism labor force was reduced to 30% of its regular COMPLEMENT 174,000 direct employees, with those who remained employed being forced to work under conditions have drastically reduced hours and salaries. The road to recovery. Destination resilience has been the centerpiece of our tourism recovery plan. The phased reopening of our borders in June 2020, which signaled the restart of local tourism, took place under strict health and safety protocols that prioritized the safety and security of frontline tourism workers, our citizens and our visitors. These measures had three main components: developing the required infrastructure, providing support to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and educating all stakeholders about the COVID-19 virus and the protocols we developed to stem its spread. Specially assigned staff from the Tourism Product Development (COMPANY), who are a part of the Stakeholder Risk Management Unit, along with members of the COVID-19 Resilient Corridor Management Team, have been closely monitoring the implementation of these measures to ensure strict compliance. As a result, tourism entities have maintained a near 100% compliance rate along the resilient corridors since the reopening of the island's borders to international travel. Our World Travel and Tourism Council (WTTC) endorsed protocols complement our highly successful resilient corridors to the north and south of the island, designed to keep workers, communities, and visitors safe by only opening an area that we have the capacity to effectively monitor and manage. I am pleased to say that the measures are working. To date, there have been very few cases of transmission of COVID-19 along the resilient corridors, has 0.6% positivity rate, which is proof that our highly regarded health and safety protocols are working, and testament to the high level of compliance by tourism stakeholders. Reimagining tourism. Despite the pandemic-induced setbacks, tourism's future is looking bright. I have every confidence that the industry will bounce back from this crisis as it has done many times before. Tourism is known for its resilience. It is going to be a slow and arduous process, but we are already seeing very positive signs, and I am confident that by 2023 we will once again be seeing significant gains. The investment climate remains positive with 90% of the planned investments on target. In the year since the reopening of our borders, June 2020 to June 2021, we have welcomed over 837,000 stopover visitors, with arrivals increasing an average of 20% each month since reopening, and thankfully many of our 170,000 directly employed tourism workers are now back on the job. The projections are also looking encouraging. 189,001 stopover visitors are projected for July 2021. Cruise arrivals are projected to resume in August 2021 for January to December 2021. It is projected that Jamaica will receive 1.7 million visitors for January to December 2021. The estimated foreign exchange earnings is US $2.0 billion. Looking further afield to 2022, Jamaica is projected to welcome 3.2 million visitors while earning US $2.7 billion in revenue. By 2023 we will be well on our way to recovery with projections of 3.7 million visitors and earning US $3.5 billion in revenue. And by 2024 we will be back on track for 4.2 million visitors and US $4.0 billion in tourism revenue. While the pandemic has thrown visitor arrivals and growth targets off track, it has forced us to rethink our strategies and chart a new course towards effective recovery and sustainable development. The strategic framework for reimagining Jamaica's tourism is being guided by the Ministry of Tourism's Blue Ocean Strategy, which will allow us to meet our growth targets of 5 million visitors, $5 billion in earnings and 5,000 new rooms by 2025. It requires a shift in mindset as we seek to uncover hidden opportunities in the tourism industry amid the COVID-19 era economic crisis. The ministry's Blue Ocean strategy calls for the creation of business models that depart from traditional models based on head-to-head competition and gaining market share. Instead, it will see our ministry pursuing enhanced value creation through product differentiation and diversification. How will we go about it? We will be training and building the capacity of our people, renewing our focus on destination assurance, leveraging our culture and heritage to tell the authentic Jamaican story, making music a more predominant and inclusive part of the visitor experience, and creating programs to get visitors out of the hotels to experience authentic Jamaica. Also, we will be undertaking major transformational projects in the sector, e.g., Montego Bay's hip strip, connecting Montego Bay by water, and the development of St. Thomas as our next tourist destination. These are just a few examples of how we plan to pivot for tourism dominance while boosting economic growth, improving livelihoods and creating jobs. We are still in the embryonic stages of building out the ministry's Blue Ocean strategy, but we believe it will force us to push the boundaries of our tourism industry so we can offer our visitors unique experiences of immense value. At the same time, these developments provide tremendous investment opportunities. Tourism as an investment opportunity. Investment will play a critical role in building out this new-look tourism product. It provides the funds necessary to construct and upgrade tourism projects essential to the development and growth of tourism capacity. In addition, the success of any tourist destination is dependent to a large degree on the nature of the facilities and services infrastructure available to visitors. The multidimensional nature of Jamaica's tourism sector offers a myriad of opportunities, including accommodation, attractions, travel technology, agro-tourism, green projects, nutraceuticals, manufacturing and supporting infrastructure that improves the visitor experience. Carry can be a strong voice as we seek to promote, attract and facilitate productive investment in Jamaica's tourism industry, and in doing so, place us more effectively on the world's alternative investment stage. I am pleased that investors continue to show confidence in the Jamaican tourism market. Investments that were completed on the island during 2020, in a year when tourism revenues dipped dramatically, included Chukka Ocean Outpost in Sandy Bay, Hanover at a cost of US $3 million. The refurbishing of Dover Water Bungalows,